Welcome everyone. My name is Stephanie Gresh. I'm the Executive Director for the Scleroderma Foundation, Greater Chicago Chapter, and I'm so happy that you all could join us this afternoon for a presentation with Dr. Jennifer Civita from Adler University. We had originally planned this as a very interactive workshop at our spring conference, and we're really excited about having her come in and actually practicing some of these things that she has to suggest to us. But unfortunately, we couldn't do that. So we did our best to recreate it as a webinar, and hopefully still she's going to try to make it as interactive as possible, as much as we can. So before we get started, I just wanted to mention that the Scleroderma Foundation Greater Chicago Chapter does have resources available to patients and their family members. We do a lot of educational programming, such as today's webinar, and we do our best to record them whenever possible and put them on our YouTube channel. So in addition to today's presentation, there is a lot of other information and presentations out there for you to check out. We also offer support groups, and you can find out more about that on our website at scleroderma.org/GCchapter. And with that, I'm going to welcome and turn it over to Dr. Jennifer Civita from Adler University.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I hope everyone can hear me, and I welcome everyone, and I thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. So today, just to start with a quick little introduction to myself. So I am a doctor of clinical psychology, and I also am an art therapist. I have a master's degree in counseling and art therapy. So I have a private practice, and I work as a consultant, and I'm also an associate professor at Adler University, where I run a department. I'm the department chairperson of the Master of Arts in Counseling Art Therapy program, as well as the PhD program in art therapy. And our school also has another campus in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I'm also the interim director of that program as well. So I'm a very busy person within the university, and I want to share a lot of my thoughts on how the arts and not only about making art, but what this can do to increase enjoyment in your life, and also sometimes help heal. And so I want to show you. I'll share my screen, and then we can start our program. Okay. I have to do slideshow. Okay, here we go. I think it is in that mode already. There's always technical issues, aren't there? Stephanie, can you see the slideshow?
Yeah, I think you can go to from beginning. So you're on slideshow all the way to the left where it says from beginning.
Oh, you know, that's a good place to start, isn't it? From the beginning. Okay. Okay, so today, this is the joy of self-care through the arts, emotional health, wellness, advocacy, and I added empowerment, a couple things. And it's also an Adlerian strength-based approach to creating joy in the everyday. And as you see on the cover, there's a previous date because I did a similar webinar, and I've added to it for this day for us. So this is an introduction and welcome. And so what I'd like you to do is, I also added, I want to add too, I've been involved in the Scleroderma Foundation for, I think, a little bit over, it might be 2 years or more. I can't tell anymore with time, but I've been very active in it and working with Stephanie. And so again, I'm honored to be here with all of you. So how does offering artful ways to help foster emotional healing while dealing with scleroderma or medical related procedures and pain management and spirituality and physical and behavioral and social health during trying and good times? So it is important to find joy in the everyday. And I hope that this webinar brings you a good feeling. And I like to remind people that art helps the body, mind, and the spirit, because it's all connected. And so for today, I would like us to look at this and make this an experiential experience for you. And experiential is that you're participating along with me in each slide that I show. And so after, as Stephanie mentioned, when we're finished, we'll go through questions and inspirations and ideas that you may have, or something you'd like to share. So there's plenty of time for us to do that. I want you to look at this graphic here. So this is kind of an abstract look at colors and lines and motion. And does it make you think of something happy or sad or indifferent? And I like to remind people that art is personal and it's subjective. So making art is about the process, not the product. So in any way you can, whether it's by making doodles or looking at art, it may serve as a distraction and or incite happiness or wonderment or memories of sadness or joy. Whatever we see in a painting is our own personal interpretation. Despite maybe what the creator intended, a lot of times we need to think about what it means for us. And as I mentioned on the slide here, we all need a place and a space to safely express ourselves. So when words cannot convey the intensity of life's experiences, body, mind, soul, and spirit manifest these stories. It is often easier to show rather than to tell. And that's one of the things that being in art therapy is. So on the left side of our brain is the analytical and verbal and how we talk about things. But on the right side is often where we hold those things. And that is where the artistic side and the emotions are often associated with that. So sometimes it's very hard to kind of use both sides of your brain to describe what you're going through, because often words are not enough or inadequate. And that's where art comes in. And when I work with people who are dealing with trauma, and that could be with anything, with a childhood trauma or a medical trauma or a medical diagnosis, it's often easier for someone to say, I'm going to pick these colors and I'll show you how I feel or what this means or how it's impacting me. And hence the beauty of art, because that often brings things to the surface and makes it easier for people to communicate. So how do you see, feel, and think? We often don't think about that, but how do you see? How is it? Are you a feeler or are you a thinker? Some people say I see things first and then I react right away, or I like to observe things and kind of take a step back. So this is kind of your time when you're looking at this slide to think about how you see and feel and think, and what is your lens of seeing the world. And this quote is from Wayne Dyer, and I'll tell you a little bit about him, but when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And sometimes that takes a little moment of thought. Wait, what does that say? What does that mean? So when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And Wayne Dyer is a spiritual or self-help guru and motivational speaker who passed away in 2015. But his legacy lives on with many of his books, and some of you may be familiar with him, and his quotes. And when I'll ask you now to reflect and look at this picture. It's blurry, and it kind of reminds me of when you plug in a Christmas tree and you see lights and then you squint at it. And it sometimes when looking at it, it distorts the image. And it's the same thing at looking at something. And whenever we look at something, everyone else may see something different. So especially when you look at something in a different angle. And so it's important for us to look at our challenges in life from different angles. Different challenges in life, or even a situation, or a lens. How is it that we are looking at something? And there's always another way to look at it. And another way might be very beneficial, despite the fact that it's still maybe awful and painful. But when we change how we see or feel or perceive it, we often change how it impacts us. And that can be a product or a factor that has to do with self-confidence and self-advocacy and empowerment. So again, if we change our reaction to something, we can respond to it differently, and in doing so, improve or enhance a situation. Maybe a lot to think about, but again, I just want to spend some time like looking at the images that I chose and how they resonate with you. Or maybe they don't resonate with you, and that's okay. But the idea of looking at them, looking at the colors, almost looking at something for the first time and trying to put meaning on it. So again, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And the next slide is make your world a better place. Make this world a better place by your presence. Focus on what you can do rather than what you can't do. Or maybe, focus and pay attention to what you're able to do as compared to what you normally were able to do. Sometimes when we look at things different, that there's a new normal that we have to adapt to. And it may be different, but at the same time, when we normalize it, it becomes part of our life. So focus on what you can do and remember to breathe. I'd like to ask you to ponder this image that you see. Looks like the night sky. And of course, there's blues, dark blues, light blues, white, swirling. I think I see stars. You might be seeing something else, but looks like the moon. And again, how we look at things is very subjective. But looking at this person and looking at this image, and then the notion, remember to breathe. And we'll do a little breathing exercise. And the reason is because sometimes when everything seems hopeless or out of control, our breath serves as a reminder of the only thing sometimes in life that we can control. So I want you to focus on this image. We're going to take 3 deep cleansing breaths together. And when we breathe in, you're going to breathe in through your nose. And I want you to imagine that you're breathing in joy and peace and all good things. And when you exhale, so you're taking in, we'll do this together, but I'm just kind of giving instructions. I want you to breathe in through your nose, like take the deepest breath, and then you hold it in and you imagine this joy and peace just pushing down and filling your entire body. And when we exhale, I want you to think of exhaling, scooping out all the negativity, stress, fear, anger, pain that you're feeling, and let it come from your feet all the way up and out. And I encourage you to breathe through your mouth and to breathe out and up. And we exhale all that maybe we don't want inside of us. And in doing so, it's kind of a metaphor for cleansing ourselves. Maybe some of that pain might not ever go away, or that stress or anxiety, but the idea of doing your best to lessen it and get it outside of you, because oftentimes inside, when we hold all that in, that does cause more pain. So let's do this together. At the count of 3, we're going to take in that deep breath through our nose, and we are going to think of joy and peace and calming, and just let it settle in every part of our being. And then when we exhale, we're going to blow as much. We're trying to blow more air out as opposed to taking it in. So when you blow that air out, and we're going to do that, we'll take 3 breaths. I want you to imagine yourself as a balloon, and it's filled. You're filled. You're a balloon. And you know how you let the air slowly out of a balloon and it becomes wobbly and kind of loose? That's how I want you to feel. And when I do this with kids, I'm always like, pretend it's a wet noodle. I want you to be like a wet noodle at the end, just kind of floppy, and you throw it on a table, it just falls wherever it may be. I don't want you to fall wherever you may be, but I want you to feel loose and relaxed. So, are we ready? 1, 2, 3, let's breathe in through our nose. I want you to keep breathing in the joy and peace and calming and goodness. Hold your breath. Hold it while looking at this image. And then when you can't hold it anymore, blow out and up through your mouth. I hope you feel a little lighter. So we'll do that 2 more times. And again, focusing on the image, the colors. I like the swirl that the painting makes because it is like their breath. The person's exhaling. It's going out into the universe. So you can think of your stress and your pain, anger, anxiety, whatever it is that's going out and just leaving you and going out into the universe, where it breaks up into tiny, tiny pieces. So let's try another time. 1, 2, 3, breathe in. Hold your breath. Then exhale. Now it's important that we do this breathing. It's consecutive, but you shouldn't do it real quick one after another, because you can get very lightheaded or dizzy. So again, we calm ourselves, we focus on this image, we think about what it does for us, what it feels like to be that person sitting there under the stars in the night sky, and how it can bring us peace. And let's do that together one more time again. So 1, 2, 3, breathe in. Hold it as long as you possibly can. And then breathe out and up. So I hope you feel like an empty balloon or a wet noodle. And just remember that sometimes when you do feel a lot of pain, or feel that you are losing control of a situation, or that you're in so much pain and you don't know what else to do, or achy, or just not feeling well, to remember to do those breathing. Do your breathing exercises, because again, that is something that you can control, and it is something that you can do to relieve stress. Oops. Okay, life through an Adlerian lens. So now that we're all calm and relaxed, I'll read you this quote. It says, artists, geniuses, thinkers, inventors, discoverers, they are the real leaders of humanity. And what exactly does that mean? And what in the world does that word below it mean? The word is German, and it means Gemeinschaftsgefühl, or it's pronounced, I should say, Gemeinschaftsgefühl. Adler was born in Vienna, and his first language is German. And a translation of that means community feeling or social interest. Again, that's Gemeinschaftsgefühl. And if someone is German, I'm sure you can pronounce it way better than I am, but I'm giving it my best try. And what does community feeling or social interest mean? Well, the term was coined and used by Alfred Adler, this sketch of this man you see, and Adlerian psychologists. I consider myself an Adlerian psychologist. So there is such a thing as Adlerian theory, also known as individual psychology, which does not really mean individual. It means more indivisible. So it's used to describe a state of social connectedness, Gemeinschaftsgefühl. And the social connectedness and social interest in the well-being of others that characterizes psychological health. You might still be thinking, what does that mean? So he and the university, the universities that are named after him, acknowledge that the arts can heal. And whether that is looking at art or making art, the arts have a place within community feeling and social interest. What can we do to make our world a better place? And oftentimes it starts with you. Well, it does start with you. And oftentimes we don't think that. We think of it as other people need to make our world a better place, which they are responsible, but at the same time, it starts with us. And that when we have a sense of belonging and purpose and connectedness within a community, and that could be the Scleroderma community that you belong to. And when we feel that we belong to that, and there's a sense of purpose, and that we are working together, our sense of mental and a social and emotional well-being increases, meaning their level of social interest increases, and that we feel better. And that actually does increase our health and well-being. So the notion of having a high level of community feeling or social interest is good for ourselves. It's good for our health. It's good for our body. It's good for our spirit. And to avoid a history lesson about Alfred Adler, I just wanted to give a little background. He was born in Vienna, Austria, and he suffered from, well, he's a psychiatrist, and he studied ophthalmology as well. And again, I like that idea of looking through life through an Adlerian lens. He was fascinated with the eyes and how we see and perceive and view ourselves, and how we view others, and how we view the world. We all have our own viewpoint, right? And so it's very interesting in that if we, the stronger we are as a person, often kind of dictates the health of us, and not in terms of like physical health. I'm talking more our emotional and social well-being. And it's interesting because as a young child, he suffered from rickets, a vitamin D deficiency, which prevented him from walking until after the age of 2. He also had pneumonia at age 4, and due to many other ongoing health problems, he decided that he wanted to become a physician. And his whole notion was through preventative care. And he was an advocate for using your dreams, using poetry, using writing, using the arts as a way to feel better and prevent more health problems. And so through medical problems, he started to form this whole idea of the psychology, which many people espouse, and very interesting person. And I really embrace this Adlerian lens. So we'll go to the next slide. So in honor of prevention and the notion of belonging and having a sense of purpose and belonging to a community and that community spirit, I thought we could breathe again. And I want you to breathe in joy and look at this photo. Now, this is the second deep breathing we'll do, but I think it's important too to look at this image and all the colors and the details. So notice the swirls, notice the difference of colors, notice the face, notice the lines in the face that kind of give some texture. Notice the person's hair that is made up of swirls. And the eyes. And there's two eyes on the face and then a third eye. And that it's within itself has a lot of symbolism. So swirls, there's a lot of archetypal images in this image that are universal to many people. And so just look at that and notice how it makes you feel, what it makes you think about. Or maybe you're thinking, I'd like to draw something like that. Or that reminds me of a picture I've seen before. Again, we all have our own meaning, but taking the time to relax and to focus on something other than within ourselves, and to look and to observe and to think and feel. And maybe this image conjures up some memories. Or it might remind you of another image. So again, I want you just to breathe in joy and continue taking deep breaths and remember to breathe. And often when our anxiety builds, we stop breathing from below, from our lower belly, and we start just breathing through almost like within our throat. And often that's quick breathing. And then that starts to make us even more nervous. So the idea to stop, slow down, and breathe. And I think even when you're driving and you're in traffic, sometimes when you stop at a red light, that could be your cue. I need to be mindful. I need to focus. I need to breathe. I want you to think of other images that you may like to create. And as a reminder, it's not only about creating with using your hands to create. There's also, we'll talk about more options, but you can even trace an image or make your own, or surround yourself with images that might be something from a magazine that you tore out, or even from the newspaper, or from a calendar that might be a really pretty landscape that you think that resonates with me. Surround yourself with some of those. Or you could have a notebook and just create a sketchbook or a notebook and adhere pictures in your notebook that bring you joy. There's many different ways to use the arts. And think about what images please you. Some people prefer landscape. Some people like images with people in them. Some prefer abstract. Some like impressionism. There's all different kinds of art, obviously, and being in tune with them, or starting to look at some and think of what you'd like to have as an image around you. So what does joy look like for you? Joy can be a color, a symbol, a doodle, a sculpture, a movement, a dance, a poem, a story, a sound, or a song. Whatever brings you joy, do more of it. Delight in your favorite music. Start a diary or a journal or a poem book. Record yourself telling a story. Sometimes people don't like to write, and that's okay. You don't have to write. You could type it or have someone else type in a story or record you. You could have someone read you a story or poems. Step out of your comfort zone. So today I invite you to step out of your comfort zone and experience art in a different way. So when you look at the sculpture, how does it make you feel? How does it make you think? So there's differences, right, between how we feel about something and then our thoughts. When you look at that, what do you think? And how does it make you feel? And let's just spend some time looking at the sculpture. And when you do, and you start looking in the other surroundings around it, you also see some other artwork. And oftentimes, how many times do we drive past something or we walk past a building without ever really noticing the artistic, the artistic characteristics that are there, and that someone created them. They just didn't appear. So again, the healing power of the arts. So looking at, being with, or making art in your own way for your own self with a focus on the process can help you improve your day. It is by being mindful. And what does mindful mean? It means being in the present moment, free from distractions, and staying in the present that allows you to feel joy and to connect within yourself and to move with ease from moment to moment. So being mindful is not an easy thing, and it takes a conscious effort to be able to be mindful at all times. So mindful when you eat, you're mindful when you sleep, to be mindful when you engage with other people. Are you reacting to something or are you responding to them? Are you taking the time to think about what they said or what they did, and then to reflect on it, and then to offer a reaction, or I should say a response, not an immediate reaction. So again, being mindful and focusing on beauty and aesthetics and surrounding ourselves with that helps us to be more mindful, because we can use those as visual guides to remind us of slowing down and taking life moment by moment. So I want you to look at this image. Does it take you back to a certain celebration, a ritual, or a party? What joy can these memories bring to you? And does it inspire you to move, dance, celebrate? And I think of us right now, we're all sitting probably. So sitting in a chair, can you still dance? Can you still sway? Can you still use your body? Whether it's to listen to music or to express yourself. And imagine as if, I'm sure by looking at this image, there must be music in the air, correct? And sounds. So to surround yourself with the sensual, the sentient presence of what sounds you hear, what you see, how you feel, how others may be feeling, and the notion of touch. Okay. So I think as we become more mindful and we feel healthier and better about ourselves, we come to this notion of self-advocacy and empowerment. Trying to do for you as a way to practice self-care. So I think the self-advocacy part and empowerment come with self-care, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So I think you can almost hear the guitar music when you look at this image. The emotion on his face, his closed eyes, the painted circles behind him that may almost seem to be playing a tune, the position of his fingers on the guitar. And you think, what kind of song is he playing? And how is it meaningful for him? And how is it meaningful for you? So when we embrace creative expression as a path to healing and put it into action through our initiatives, we also work toward broadening awareness of the power of art to discover, explore, and share what is most important to us as individuals, and ultimately through that process to heal in whatever way that may be. So self-care is about diet, and I don't mean diet as in dieting, but in terms of what you eat, what you put in your mouth, sleep, exercise, creating, socializing, interacting, and enjoying who and what is all around you. You follow the path of competence and caring about you and for yourself and others, and advocating for your needs leads to empowerment. So for an intention for today, I'd like to ask you to celebrate today and to ponder this image. Do you see birds or flowers? What is this person creating? What colors resonate with you within the image? And could you create an image about how this makes you feel? Or can you find your own image that resonates with you? Can you write a poem, a song, a story that goes with this image? Are there images and photographs in your home that you enjoy looking at? And what joy do they bring you, and why? So try to create joy today, to be grateful for what you have and who you have, and let yourself be with art in whatever form that is. So make an intention today to look for a new way to find or make joy by using your creativity. And in the time of COVID, that puts a whole different spin on a whole lot of things for us. But what I've noticed and what I think is very interesting is that museums and galleries have made their art more accessible to people because now it's virtual. So you can look on virtual galleries, that you could go to attend the symphony and see concerts that maybe you had to actually go to those places before. So through COVID, as terrible as it may be, it's kind of prompted us to look at life in a whole new way. And how can we bring these events and celebrations to people as opposed to having them come into a museum or a gallery. So I'm amazed at how many places have made art available, and the arts, again, dance, ballet, jazz, all of those things are now available to everyone as long as you have a strong internet connection. So I think it's really important that we let ourselves be with art and to create joy in the everyday and create joy for others and be grateful. Last one is peace and all good things to you. So I wish you a beautiful, beautiful day. And I encourage you to breathe more and to move and to create and heal.